Welcome back to Nation of Glory, the place where stories become journeys, where legends rise from humble beginnings, and where we honor the timeless souls who shaped the heart of entertainment. Today, we're diving into the extraordinary, emotional, unbelievable life story of a woman who didn't just chase dreams, she carved them out of the mountains of Tennessee and sang them into the soul of the world. A woman whose voice, heart, and spirit became symbols of hope, kindness, and resilience. This is the story of Dolly Rebecca Parton, the queen of country music, the angel of Appalachia, and one of the most beloved artists the world has ever known. Let me take you back to a world that looked nothing like the dazzling stages, rhinestones, spotlights, and legendary performances that people associate with her today. Dolly's life began far away from fame, far away from wealth, far away from privilege. She was born on January 19, 1946, in a one-room cabin in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. Her family was large, 12 children, and money was scarce. Not just scarce, but often non-existent. Life was tough, simple, raw. But sometimes the brightest stars are born in the darkest skies, and sometimes the greatest voices come from the quietest corners of the world. Growing up, Dolly didn't have fancy toys, expensive clothes, or luxuries. What she had was nature. The mountains, the wind, the sound of birds, the rhythm of the rain on the tin roof. And, most importantly, she had music. Music wasn't a hobby for her family, it was part of their survival, part of their bonding, part of their joy. They sang in church, on the porch, in the fields, around the fire. And from the moment Dolly could speak, she could sing. The mountain air carried her little voice like it carried stories, pure, natural, full of heart. She would make instruments from whatever she could find. A tin can became a guitar. A stick became a microphone. And before anyone else could realize what was growing in that little cabin, Dolly felt it deep inside her bones. She was born to sing, to write, to perform, to create. Her imagination was wild, her spirit unbreakable, and her dreams bigger than the mountains that surrounded her. But dreams don't always come easy, especially when you're a little girl from one of the poorest areas in America. The outside world didn't see the Parton family. They didn't know the hardships. They didn't see the hunger, the cold winters, the struggles that shaped Dolly's heart. All they heard was her voice whenever she got the chance to perform, and that voice carried something special. Something rare. Something unforgettable. By the age of 10, Dolly was performing on local radio and TV shows. When she walked into a room to sing, people stopped talking. When she stepped onto a stage, even the smallest one, she filled it with emotion bigger than any spotlight could contain. Her gift was undeniable, and everyone who heard her knew she wasn't destined to remain hidden in the mountains. When she was just 13, she recorded her first song professionally. Imagine that, a little girl from a one-room cabin, standing in a real studio, singing her heart out with the innocence of a child and the soul of an old storyteller. That moment marked the beginning of something the world had no idea was coming. But the biggest turning point came the day after her high school graduation. While other students celebrated, unsure of their next steps, Dolly packed up her belongings, hugged her family, and headed straight to Nashville, the city of dreams for every aspiring country musician. She had no money, no connections, no guarantees. All she had was her talent, her determination, and a burning belief that if she tried hard enough, she could change her destiny. Nashville wasn't easy. The music industry was dominated by established artists, powerful men, and big labels. Young women, especially poor, unknown young women, were often overlooked, ignored, or underestimated. And then there was Dolly, small, sweet, humble, polite, walking into music offices with songs she had written on scrap paper, humming melodies she created in her sleep. But what those offices didn't expect was the fire behind her smile. The brilliance in her songwriting. The uniqueness of her voice. The way she could craft lyrics that touched the soul, songs that felt like stories passed down for generations. Even when she faced rejection, she didn't break. She just kept writing, kept performing, kept showing up. And slowly, the doors that once stayed shut began to crack open. At first, she found success as a songwriter. Big artists, respected artists, started recording her songs. Her words carried emotions they couldn't resist. And yet, even while becoming a sought-after songwriter, Dolly wanted more. She wanted to sing her own stories, to share her own melodies with the world. In 1967, it happened. Her debut album, Hello, I'm Dolly, was released. It was vibrant, honest, emotional, just like her. That album didn't just introduce her voice to the world, it announced her arrival. People realized that this wasn't simply another country singer. This was someone special, someone whose talent refused to be ignored. That was the beginning of a journey that would span over 60 years, 50 studio albums, and a legacy that extends far beyond music. But Dolly's rise to fame wasn't only about her voice. It was about her personality, her warmth, her humor, her authenticity. She was unapologetically herself. She dressed the way she wanted. She looked the way she wanted. She spoke with kindness. She sang with honesty. She lived with generosity. Her breakthrough in mainstream entertainment came when she partnered with Porter Wagoner on his television show. At first, people weren't sure how to take her. She looked like a glittering star from a different world, with her big hair, bright clothes, and radiant smile. But once she opened her mouth to sing, once her songwriting revealed its depth, all doubts vanished. She brought something fresh, emotional, and powerful to the industry. Yet even with success, she faced challenges, creative differences, industry politics, personal heartbreak, and moments of being underestimated. But Dolly, with her signature grace, handled every storm with strength. When she decided to leave Porter Wagoner's show to pursue her own path, it was painful. It felt like losing a partnership that had defined her early fame. But Dolly did what Dolly always does, she turned pain into art. She sat down and wrote one of the most iconic songs in the history of music, I Will Always Love You. A goodbye wrapped in gratitude. A farewell wrapped in love. A masterpiece created from real emotion. That song later became one of the most beautiful messages ever recorded, and years later, Whitney Houston's version would touch hearts worldwide. But the heart of the song, that was Dolly's. Through the 1970s and 1980s, Dolly became unstoppable. She moved into acting, proving once again that she wasn't limited to one talent. She brought her charm to films like 9 to 5 and Steel Magnolias. She made the world laugh, cry, and fall in love with her all over again. Her acting wasn't forced, it felt natural, genuine, full of life. Just like her music. But here's where Dolly Parton becomes more than an artist, she becomes a force of kindness, a hero to millions, a philanthropist whose heart is bigger than any stage she has ever stood on. With her success, she didn't run away from her roots. She returned to her hometown and built Dollywood, creating jobs, opportunity, and hope for people living in the same poverty she once knew. She invested in education, opening programs that helped thousands of children learn to read through her imagination library. Imagine that, a global superstar dedicating her fortune to making sure children, especially those from poor communities, could have books in their hands, dreams in their hearts, and stories in their lives. Dolly didn't give money just to be praised. She gave because she understood suffering. She understood struggle. She understood the weight of a childhood without resources. And she wanted to change that for others. When natural disasters struck Tennessee, she was there. When communities needed rebuilding, she donated millions. When the world needed hope, she wrote songs that felt like healing. When the pandemic hit, she funded research that contributed to life-saving vaccines. Think about that, Dolly Parton didn't just save souls with music, she helped save lives with science. Her generosity isn't performative, it's who she is. A woman whose fame never erased her humility. A woman whose heart never forgot where it came from. A woman whose success never changed her kindness. Even today, decades into her career, Dolly remains one of the most beloved figures in entertainment, not just because of her music, but because of her spirit. Because she carries joy into every room she enters. Because she makes people feel seen, loved, valued. Because her story reminds the world that no matter how poor your beginnings, no matter how small your hometown, no matter how impossible the dream may look, you can rise. You can shine. You can become more than anyone ever expected. Dolly Parton stands as a symbol of hope for dreamers everywhere. A reminder that talent without kindness is hollow, and fame without purpose is empty. She has stayed joyful despite hardship, radiant despite criticism, empowered despite obstacles. She has grown yet remained grounded, succeeded yet remained grateful. Her music spans generations. Her films light up hearts. Her philanthropy changes lives. And her laughter, bright, contagious, endlessly warm, makes the world feel lighter. After 60 years of creating, performing, giving, and uplifting, Dolly continues to shine with the same fire she had as a little girl singing into a tin can in the mountains. She is living proof that success is not measured by material wealth, but by the love you give and the lives you touch. And through all of this, through every award, every hit song, every role, every milestone, she remains Dolly. Honest, humble, hopeful, human. Her legacy, like her voice, will echo long after the spotlight fades. And that, dear viewers of Nation of Glory, is the story of a woman who turned poverty into poetry, struggle into strength, and dreams into destiny. A woman whose life reminds us that greatness isn't about perfection, it's about heart. Thank you for staying with us through this emotional and inspiring journey of Dolly Parton. If you enjoyed this long, powerful story and want more Hollywood legends told with depth and passion, make sure to subscribe to Nation of Glory, hit that like button, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that dreams can come true, no matter where they begin. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.